When I close my eyes and think of you, and reminisce on all the things you do, I can't imagine my life without you. It's like paradise and I know that it's real. Ooh, it's a mystery that someone would give their life for me. What you did on Calvary, it makes me wanna love you more. I never knew life could be so happy. I never knew I'd be so secure. Because of your love, life has brand new meaning. It's gonna be a brighter day, brighter day, brighter day. I like to use my brain for you and use it to write songs for you. You're getting all of the best of me, 'cause I'm giving all of the best of me. Oh Lord, my heart's only built for two. You won't wear me up 'cause I'm the perfect shoe. You're getting all of the best of me, 'cause I'm giving all of my best. I don't need words, and I don't need songs, but I choose to use them. The light shines brighter when it shines for you. Whoa, I ain't blowing smoke. No, this ain't hot air. It's how I choose to love you. My light shines brighter when it shines for two.
Good evening. Oh, good morning. Good morning. Hey, good morning. Good Sunday morning. Welcome back to Alkebulan Inspirational Sunday. We are just coming off of Black History, the government appointed Black History Month, right? So this is like the first Sunday after the government appointed Black History Month. But we know that here, when we're working on and focusing on the rise of the African, this Pan-African social media movement where we're trying to bring Black youth, Black young adults, Black parents, Black families, the Black community under one umbrella where we can rise as a people and do greater things in this world, we know that the struggle continues. So it's not, again, this is not about January or the month of February. This is about celebrating who you are from January 1st to December 31st. And knowing that this is the year of amplification, where, the year 22, where we get double portion of God's energy, where we use it, we go pray for it, we meditate, we diet, we fast, we pray, we do everything we can do to pull more energy from the universe so that we can continue to struggle. Why? Because what is not over, February might be over, but the Black experience is not. The Black experience is continuing every day, and it's different in each generation. It's different as the time. So what you're going through is different than what your mom is going to go through and your dad's going to go through, which is different from what their uncles and grandparents are going to go through, which is different from the great grandma. It's always different. The struggle changes. It looks, and they say that it changes so much that after a while you can't see that you're still in a struggle for a state of humanity. But because we are in this struggle, and the struggle continues, we're going to ask you, please, whoever's watching on Facebook, make sure you like, you comment, you share. We truly appreciate the community support, and we continue because we got some major things rolling. I've been working on a project all night last night, and boy, oh boy, I'm getting even more excited. So we got like 30 days, 30 to 60 days before we try to drop something major. Okay? Major with World of Alkebulan. And if you're watching us on YouTube, Make sure you, let me get that right. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and hit the bell notification, because we are always giving new content. We are content creators. We're creating more and more content for the Black community. Why? Because the struggle continues and we're trying to get out of, create a better Black experience. So as we continue to go, be on the lookout. Again, you have Inspirational Sunday, Alkebulan Inspirational Sunday. Then on Tuesday nights, you have the African Speaks. Thursday night, you have the Afro Stream, news from the diaspora. Saturday, you have African history, and then you also, Saturday at 2 o'clock, you have African spirituality. I missed this Saturday. We had some very, very important things that we had to work on Saturday. I got to find a way to put out a commercial when I don't make it. So you're aware of what happens. And we always want everybody to remember and know that we are focused on continuity, meaning that we are connecting ourselves to our history, to our past, to our present, to our future. This is a chain reaction. We are a chain reaction, a movement that has never stopped. And so we want you to know that we always connect ourselves to the ancient covenant promise that we had with the Creator, with the earth, with the universe, with our ancestors. Yes, this is about relationships. We have continued the struggle in which they were on. So that's what this is all about. Now, what I wanted to talk about was, and this is, I was working all night on this project, and so I didn't have the jump that I have, or in terms of the title of what I want to talk about. But last week, again, we're dealing in continuity. Last week we were dealing with the fact that we are Black history's past, present, and future. We are a manifestation of those who have gone before and those who will come after. So now, as we cross over to the from the government appointed Black History Month, we are in our appointed Black History Month. So if we don't take it much as seriously as we do when the government appoints it, we know that we not moving the needle of Black people forward. But we discussed the fact that individuals that we study have come aware of the I am, meaning they were able to define themselves and find a place in this world in which they fit. And not only do they fit, but they influence humanity and people around them. That's powerful. That's extremely, extremely powerful. And so the concept of who are you has a lot to do with answering questions. Who, how, what, why, where, when. It's everything to do with looking at yourself through time. Not just through your present, but through time. And so this is a way of thinking through time. Thinking, right? Because in thinking, there's what we call perception. What you see things as, but what it really is. So usually it's what you see things versus what somebody else sees, but then there's always what really is, right? And so how do you find you? And I was about to put the Finding Nemo. And when I looked at the thing of Finding Nemo was about a fish who was lost, right? However, when you finding somebody, you can put your name in. I mean, I could say Finding IJ. It's not about lost physically. It's about lost mentally, intellectually, emotionally, not knowing who I am in this world. And truth be told, I did a lot of running around yesterday, and I was battling with this right here. I was battling with it last night. And I had to meditate and wait for the visions of what God would have me do and the answers would have me do. And it had to click. And so I wanted to break it down a little bit easier rather than I am, because as easy as that is, you can also have other avenues that help you pull you either toward your real identity or strip you away from it. Right. Sometimes you don't even know when you're around individuals who are stripping you away from who you are in God, who you are in society, who you are in time. It hits us when we least expect it. So we want to learn perception and reality, the difference between the two. Perception. So where can you get how you perceive yourself, what you think about yourself, how you feel about yourself, and the reality of what it really is, who you really are, right? Say perception and reality. And even a lot of adults struggle with this, man. I know a lot of people who struggle with this one. They talk a good game, the perception, but they reality when you watch them, they definitely don't live what they think. Now, when we talking about people who made it through Black history, they were able to see themselves and be themselves. Woo! See themselves and be themselves. They made sure that that I am was strong, and so they were able to answer the questions. And we've been here before. Let me see if I can find the clip. Where it's right there. We've had to ask these questions before, right? And so we're gonna do it a little bit different this time because this is clear. World of Alkebulan seeks to give you a divine identity and put you on a path where God would have you, not where your parents will have you. And so where do we pull that I am from? All around us. That perception of reality, it's all around us. Sometimes it's family, right? It's your mom, your dad, it's your grandmother, your cousins. Sometimes they get to tell you, you pull your identity from them. You the big brother, big cousin, little cousin. You responsible. When they say you bad, you actually start believing that you bad. No, you're not bad. Maybe the things that you're doing are not right. That doesn't make you bad. Trustworthy. It's everything that you get, you find that identity. Some families, they what they do is they're supposed to guide you to an experience of not telling you who you are, but an experience of the God in you so that you can become aware of who you are. Because when you hold it, when you get it, can't nobody take it from you. It's when you believe it, when you know it. It's something stronger than believing. It's the knowing. It's the knowing who you are. And a lot of people don't always, even when you know it, a lot of people don't want to act like you know what you know what you know. And that's when the battle comes. When you find yourself up against individuals in your own family. I mean, I can say that all day long. When you go up against individuals in your own family, that's hard. But grandma, grandpa, uncle, cousin, even friend, distant relatives, they all pour into you. There are certain families who and it's not who they are, sometimes it's what they do, right? So you got families who own grocery stores and you're going to own the grocery store. I know a lady who family created a African cultural shop, and she went out to the world, did whatever she wanted to do, but when they got too old, they gave her a call, said, "Baby, it's your turn now." She dropped what she was doing, came home and ran the family business. This is who we are. It's what we're leaving you. This is your identity. Well, we could take a look at Black Panther. He was going to be king, fight for king. It's who you are. They tell you who you are. So until you get to the point where you say, "I am," and sometimes they're not always right. That's when you realize that sometimes that your family's not right, you start sitting there, you start taking on your own "I am." Wow. Wow. That's big. That's when your perception of yourself becomes more real. When you can battle against family. If they're not right, because sometimes they're right. Sometimes they're leading you to your best identity, your divine self, right? And then the other one are your friends, them your boys, them your girls, that's them your road dogs, your homies. You know what I mean? However you want to call it. It's your peers, those ones you kick it with, hang out with. How do they see you? What do they tell you about you? How they feel about you? If I ask your friends what they think about you, what would they say? I get a whole lot of words. I get a whole lot of words. One thing I know, they know, say I'm dedicated and committed and convinced I know who I am and I'm gonna fight for it, even when they don't see it. I told my daughter that the other day. So a lot of my friends don't see it. Why? Because not because it's not in me, it's because they don't see it within themselves. If they can't see it within themselves, yeah, they can't see it in me. And that's the part of other people's perception versus your perception and the reality, right? When you know what you know about you, right? You know what you like to eat. Somebody can't tell you, you like this and you don't. You just don't like it. That doesn't mean it's not good for you. A lot of people, I don't like vegetables. Yeah, you may not like it, but it's good for you, so you have to eat it. Why? Because if you don't, your body won't function right. It'll save your life. See? That's the reality of it. Your perception is you don't like it, but the reality of it's better for you than you don't. And so what I did when my baby girl was small, I helped her develop a love for vegetables. She eats all every time she now 23, she makes a plate, she eat all her vegetables first. Then she eats everything else. That way if she doesn't eat all her food, it's not there. But there were three sets of friends who known themselves since they was little. And they told each other that they were going to be doctors. They were going to be intellectuals. They were going to focus in school. They were going to study. They were going to complete these things. They were going to get up, grow, and change the dynamics of their community and their family. And they stuck together. Why? Because they knew they made a decision on I am. And they would tell each other, I know who you are. Until they said, yeah, you're right. You're right. I am going to be a doctor. I am going to do it. And it's they've been a story in, I don't know if you have, if your school and heard of them, then go ask them, because these three brothers have been going around communities everywhere. My daughter heard about them. And so there's a scholarship made up after the concept of these brothers called the Posse Scholarship. Right. So if you can get a group of friends, you can get a group of friends to go to a college. Now, the thing is, you don't get to dictate which college you go to. Right. But the Posse Scholarship, if you get a group of friends and y'all apply for the Posse Scholarship as a group, there will be a school that will come in that will give you a full ride. And they will give you a full ride with you and your friends. Why? Because they expect you guys to keep each other together. They expect your perception of each other to equal the true reality of each other. So you can accomplish the dream that you share together. The I am that you share together. That's important. Another place where you can find your identity is through history. Oh, I don't know why my picture's not here. Hey, let's see if we can put my picture up. Pow, there we go. It's through history. This is the H for the History Channel. Now, and then again, even when you're studying history, you have to deal with the issue of perception and reality. When you're dealing with history, you have to deal with the perception and reality of which the history comes out of. This is the important reason why we teach African history class on Saturdays. Because without the African history given to you from an African perspective, you won't know who you are. If you always going to school and all you learn about is European history before you understand the power of African people and the influence that we gave the world, you will be at a deficiency when it comes to understanding your perception of who you are and the reality of who you are. Your perception will be weak. Why? Because it's given to you by somebody else. But when you learn African history, the reality of you knowing where your people come from and what you are expected to by God, that reality becomes a stronger perception. And that perception becomes a knowing. That knowing becomes a force. And that force, woo, you'll be able to accomplish everything you want to. That's what learning African history does for you. Yes, that's what African history does for you. It gives you a clearer understanding of you, the world around you, and what you're supposed to produce in it. This is how you get those individuals who went to who we just finished studying. This is how that happens. Let me see if I pop this. Oh man, I don't have it. I don't have it posted. I had something saying that education is key. But I probably have it in another different clip. But it's key on the view of education, not just education. And if you come to African history class, I tell you that it's a Afrocation. You don't need an education. Tell your parents and everybody around you, I don't need an education. I need an Afrocation. What's an Afrocation? An education from an African perspective. That's what I need. I need an education from an African perspective. Everybody needs that. Even Europeans. Because if you get it from an African perspective, you'll be more in touch with reality than it is the fantasy world in which they live in. What was stolen, what was taken, what was refused, after that. They'll get it. That the sense of woo. Let me drop this. Wait. We try to drop it here. That black consciousness. That black consciousness, the concept of you knowing and thinking something deeper than what European society is giving you. That's what a education from an African perspective gives you. That's the importance of the world of Alkebulan. Because we're trying to get you to that experience of who God has called you to be. And so there's a conversation today in today's world about this thing called critical race theory. Y'all don't know what critical race theory is. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But they want to discuss real history, how we got to racism the way it is in the world, who was responsible. There is no education and no encounter with European history that does black people any good, period. You got to know that going to school. So if you're not getting straight A's, you're being miseducated to who you are. You got to get straight A's. Why? Because you got it. Because when it comes time to breaking away from the European, I see Richard Langford, one love. Thank you. Appreciate the love, bro. When you start looking at life through a African perspective, you'll understand how great you are and how crazy they are. Right? How crazy European society is and how much work you have to put in to overturn the racism that's in this world. And you can't overturn the racism in this world without knowing who you are and why you're here and what you're here to do. Because that gets you closer to you understanding your I am. Who you are in the Creator, who you are in history, who you are in time, who will you be in the future? Why? Because we said I am Black history, past, present, and future. Who will you be? That's deeply important. Another area that we have to take a look at is, this one is a hard one, social conditioning. Yeah, it's a hard one. I tried to find a picture that helped me explain it, but I couldn't. That was calm. So let me base this to you. Social conditioning is based off of the educational system, right? All the systems in the world, all the systems, this educational system, it's your economic environment, because if you're wealthy, you think a certain way, and if you're poor, you think a certain way. You live a certain way. So it shapes you. It shapes your thinking. Some people be poor and believe that there's nothing I could ever do to get anywhere. And you think down and you start pulling people down. That's conditioning. That's not reality, right? That's a perception that can be changed. Because the reality is that's a perception, right? That's a perception. Thinking that you can't create or produce nothing or be anything, it's a perception. It's not real life. It's not. Real life is your thoughts, your imagination is limitless. So if your imagination is limitless, so is your possibilities. You just got to learn how to maneuver around your social conditioning and circumstances. What? That's another reason why we study African history, African spirituality, Black reality. We study those things from an African perspective, so we know how to maneuver around social conditioning. Because if you don't know that there's something that you got to dodge, that's not going to make you your best self, you getting hit with it, and you don't even see the hits. The only time you see the hits is when you get into your own perception where you're not as strong as you should be. Wow. There's a lot. It's a lot. And that's why we as a program, we as a community say that you got to go back in history and see yourself the way God created you. That's it. In history, you're going to see how God created you. And they break it up, his story or European history. You're not going to see yourself as God created you. You're going to see yourself as they create you. And so what happened in while we celebrated so many people and always celebrate so many people during Black history and African history is because they knew who they were in God and was going to fight to make sure that they got there. That's it. Because the social circumstances and conditioning will tell you what you can't do. God will say there's nothing on this earth that you can't produce. And so you have to see yourself in that image of God. Meaning I'm a creator, man. You a creator, man. We're inventors, we're producers, and to have, like if we can't produce our own shirts, we got a problem. We'd be naked without another people. So we got to have like a lot of textiles. This is what World of Alkebulan is about. We're going to create industry. Along with the PAOCC, we're going to create industry. And if they don't create it, we're going to create industry. We got to do it. You got African countries who backward engineer technology to create it for themselves. That means you take something apart. I grew up and I wanted to learn how to fix a bike. So you know how I learned how to fix bikes with nut and bolts, taking out the sprocket apart with the ball bearings and all the liquid in there, liquid greasy stuff. I was 8. I took every screw off a piece of a bike and made a puzzle, made sure I put it in a puzzle. My mother came in the room and said, if you don't fix that bike, boy, I'm going to beat you. But mommy, I'm going to go to bed because it was like 9, 10 o'clock by the time I took it all apart and I took everything apart, all the guts, everything apart. And she said, boy, you better sit down. And by the time I wake up in that morning, because it was a Swin, it wasn't a cheap bike. My mother was my dad's, but he left it at the house when he broke camp. So we don't have our dads, but it's okay. I still became an inventor. Why? Because I'm tapping into God. And so when I took it apart, she said, you fix that bike or you get a beat. Right? So which one do you think I chose? I chose to fix the bike. So what I did at 8, I grabbed the manual and I read the manual on each component. Because when you taking something apart, you just take it apart. You get a screwdriver, you get a wrench, you get some pliers. You get Phillips, you get everything, and you just take it apart. But I put it down so that I could see what it was, and I looked at it. So when she said put it back together, I didn't remember how to put it back together, but I read the book. By that next morning, my mother walked in, and I was all greased up, hands all, because it's greasy when you get into the ball bearings, and I was tired. And she just dropped her mouth. But she said, how did you do that? I said, mommy, I read the manual. And so I put it back together. She said, does it work? And I went back outside, riding that, switch gears, everything. It was orange. I remember the bike. I loved it. I love riding bikes. I got like 3 or 4 of them. I fixed everybody's bike in my neighborhood since the age of 8. Flat tires and all. Then I went to work at a store fixing bikes when I was in high school. Why? Because I am a creator. You are a creator. What is it that you are sent here to produce and create? You got to see yourself as you were created to be, not in social society, not the way urban or European people see you and your social conditioning, not through fake history, which is European history, but you got to look through African history because God made you powerful. What? God made you powerful. God made you smart, intellect, talented. God made you beautiful. God made you strong. God made you wise. God made all these things. He made you energetic, creative. Find the adjectives to pour into you of what God made you. Write them down, see it, read it, say it, be it, live it, know it. How God created you. It is the most beautiful experience to live day by day when you understand what God poured into you. There is nothing you can't do when you see yourself through the eyes of what God has done. Take a look at your history and see what your people have created. It is the most beautiful thing when you understand and you know that you are a child of the Creator, the Most High. You are connected to your ancestors and the earth. You have dominion, so you have power, cosmic power all around you. When you get that, what happens? You sit down and you function from a glow. That's where they get that melanin magic, that melanin popping. It's not just because you got good clothes on. It's because you got God on the inside. And God comes up on the outside of you. Wow. That's when you know. That's when you find you. And you got to go through those things. You can use your family. But if they wrong, move on. You can use your friends. If they wrong, move on. You can use African history, and it ain't never wrong. If you use an European history, know that you move on. You can use your social dynamics, because if you put people around you that believe in you, they will always push you to be your best self, to get you to your glow. But if they don't, move on. Right? Because after a while, you will find yourself in the experience of who the Creator calls you to be, and your melanin will glow. Your melanin will glow. And God will test your glow. God's going to test your challenge. I'm going to put you through some things to see if you understand how good and bad and powerful you are. You just glow your way through it. Sometimes it get hard. Last night it got hard. And I had to dig. And after it clicked, boom. And I was like, yeah, right now I'm in my moment. Are you? Are you in your moment? Where you feel strong, you feel great, you feel confident, you feel encouraged to be the best you. Are you in your moment? Be in there. Now, when you find that feeling, let me get it up. When you find that feeling, you got to do something about it. You got to do something about it. It ain't just the fact that you walk around the earth feeling good to feel good. No, you got to share it. You got to produce. You got to create. You got to invent. You got to inspire. You got to encourage. There's so much action that is you. I'm a J-ing. I don't even know how to make that a verb. Well, I guess I do. I call it, I'm the African. I'm going to be that African. I J the African. And people get mad at me for saying it. And I'm like, wait a minute. Why ain't you saying it to yourself? What? They gave me an African name when, and that's what my family did. My family, my community gave me an African name. Ajay Akono to him Batula Nagwe. Messenger or prophet of God, it is your turn. Stand as a nation because God is with us. When I got under the understanding of that and my glow came out, I had to do something. And so sometimes when you got something to do and no one is telling you what to do, it's okay. Why? Because you're going to make your own road. Can't nobody tell you how to be the best you sometimes. Sometimes they can help you, but sometimes they can't. Why? Because they're not in your shoes. They not you. And so if you don't have anybody influencing you, slow down. God and your ancestors will talk to you. Your imagination, let it kick in. Because when it kicks in, when the God in you kicks in, you'll pave your own road. You'll create a life around you and for others that you love that will be amazing. And once that's done, you will inspire someone else to do the same thing. And then it will be a chain reaction through the generations because you decided to see yourself through the eyes of God. That's what World of Alkebulan is all about. That's exactly what we seek to do. Help you see yourself in God so you can achieve the things that you were meant here and sent here to be and do. I am of God, and I continue to push the limits of who God would have me be. I look at the time in which I live, and I answer a question. Who's going to go before us to help us continue to be a people? And you should say to yourself, that will be me. And when you can say to yourself that that's me, I'm going to answer the questions of my community, you are completely walking in the past, present, and future of Black history. Into your I am. Into your past, your present, and your future. You're aware of the God in you. And with that, What else can you say? Hmm? What else can you say? So I can say the struggle continues, and we will be the best that we can be because we are focusing on the rise of the African. Ashe.